Hello and welcome to ET Garage. Today's video is going to be about an injector swap, and I decided to go full roller rockers. Scorpion Racing Products, made in the USA, and they come with a limited lifetime warranty. I'm going to be using these type of rockers right here. I'll leave links down in the description box and all that good stuff. And I don't need the full roller rockers, but I always wanted to have full rollers. There's pros and cons to them, just like everything else. But I'll go over that here in a little bit. And one thing I'm going to be changing is the injectors. They will be the exact same flow rate. The only difference will be these have the Bosch four-hole nozzles on them, which is supposed to put a finer mist. And I'll go over also why I'm going to be changing these and more detail here shortly. But on full roller rockers, I'll go more in detail into that. Right now I have roller tip rockers, and they're just the ball and stud kind. And the disadvantage to a ball and stud style rocker arm is friction. There's just a lot of friction there on the ball and stud. I don't have one. I'll show more in detail when I get them off later in the video. But that's the biggest advantage to a full roller rocker, is this right here, this trunnion right here. This is full ball bearings in here, or roller bearings in there of some type, or whatever kind of bearings. And it has the roller tip, and these are self-centering. That's what these little lips are here for, to center this on the end of the valve tip, keep the rocker from going like that. Now if you are using guide plates, you don't use these. Don't use these in conjunction with them. I do have the factory guide plates, but those factory guide plates aren't true guide plates, and you cannot use them as guide plates. They're actually there for when they assemble the engine at the factory, the way I've been understood anyway. Now like I said, the biggest advantage to these is the lack of friction, and it has there are two other advantages. One is reduction in oil temperature due to the lack of friction. And it get basically free horsepower due to the lack of friction. Also enables your engine to rev a lot higher. If you're running a engine that's revving really high, this is referring to motors, your push rod style motors that use ball stud type rocker arms. Once you get up over 6,000 RPM, you're going to want full roller rockers. They're just a lot less load on everything and a lot more stable. And you can read all sorts of things if you wanted to Google it. Advantage. There is in my opinion, the biggest disadvantage to these is the noise. There's going to be more valve train noise, and that's a concern for me because I run knock sensors and I have to worry about false knock. So that's a concern to me. Now the reason I chose these are what they call narrow body Scorpion, and I'm sticking with the 1.5 ratio. You can change your ratios. If you do, you have other considerations like coil bind. If you go say 1.6, you're going to have more lift, so you got to worry about coil bind. You have to worry about your valve, the valve retainers hitting your valve guide seal and stuff like that. So you make sure you do your research before you go and throw on a set of roller rockers. Like I said, it does free up horsepower, and it does lower your oil temperatures due to the lack of friction. And it'll also increase your fuel mileage, I would think. Anything that reduces friction will increase your fuel mileage. So that's always a plus. I don't need to do this. The motor, I have it in there right now. I'll try and leave a link to it. The 383 I have in there. That has about 46,000 miles on it. And I don't know. I felt this was a good upgrade. These are not cheap, but compared to other upgrades, they are cheap. On most small block Chevys, that the valve covers are easily accessible. This is a fairly easy swap. You just have to make sure you have your cam lobes in the right position when you adjust these. So make sure you follow your instructions for your particular cam and motor. So you will be rotating the motor every time you need to put one of these on. Now, there's also a warning in here. Make sure you test fit these for all these things that I mentioned before, like coil bind, the valve keepers, and anything else. Clearance between the valve spring and right here in this area here can be a concern. If you're running wider than, wide diameter coil springs, you got to make sure they'll clear this rocker arm here, etc., etc. There's all sorts of things you need to check, but I'll try and go in more detail when I install them. But on my 90 Corvette, just popping the valve covers off is not possible. Why? I'll go in more detail, but basically I have aftermarket intake runners on a tune port setup, which means those got to either come off or be loosened up in order just to get the valve covers off. That's not a problem because I'm going to be removing them anyway to install the injectors. So I'm not worried about that. But there's other problems on a 90 Corvette, C4 Corvette, and that's getting the valve covers off are a little tricky. The driver's side isn't bad. The passenger side requires removing the AC compressor, not completely. You just got to unbolt it and slide it out of the way. You don't have to disconnect the hoses. And if you don't have a modified bracket like I do, like I said, I'll go into more detail on that stuff. You have to remove the AC bracket altogether. And you also need to drain coolant and remove hoses out of the way. And that's what makes it so difficult on a 90 Corvette. Makes me wish I just did this first off when I built that motor. But anyway, I figured this make a good subject for... I always wanted to do these, and I figured it'd make a good subject for the video. Scorpions, like I said, they have a limited lifetime warranty. You just register them online. There's a nice paper to tell you to do that. And it comes with the these nice... I'm trying to think of the technical name for these, but... they basically make it easier to lock these down and adjust these rocker arms. So, like I said, I'll go into more detail about that. And you do want to lubricate these. Some people like to soak these overnight in oil. When you do that, I'm just going to dip these in oil probably just before I install them. I'll probably fill this tray with oil, put like 8 in there at a time, and soak them in oil and do it while I'm removing the valve covers and stuff. Because I do want to test at least one of these on the valves, make sure there's no issues like I was talking about. I already know there's not going to be because of how I know my setup, so I'm not too worried about that. Still, I'll check it, just like it says in here. It says make sure you check these because once you install these on the motor, you can't return them. They're yours. Okay, now if something fails on them, that's different. They do have, like I said, a limited lifetime warranty, but as far as any interference issues, that's solely on you, not the Scorpion Racing products. They warn you about that, and that applies to any type of aftermarket product, period, that I could think of. As far as these injectors, like I said, I'll go over in more detail. These are actually eBay injectors. I took kind of a chance on these. These are a 4-hole Bosch, like I said. And they're still 24 pounds. That's all the injector I need for the power I'm making. And I'll go into more detail why I'm swapping them out. Those injectors I have in there now are Trick Flow 24 pound Lucas style injectors. And those injectors are basically... like I said, the motor has about 46,000 miles on it, but those injectors I think have about 20,000 more miles than that. So they probably got like 66,000 miles on them. And I've been having some fueling issues, and I'm basing it solely on plug reading that it's the injectors. And like I said, I'll go into that more when I get out in the garage. So maybe I'll go out there now and I'll go into that. Cleaning them off. I got the runners loosened up. I got that valve cover off on the driver's side. I now need to rotate the motor and get the rocker arms in the correct position and get the new rockers on. One thing I want to go over when I do that is one of the things you need to worry about when you use a self-centering rocker arm is that these, I don't know if you can see that, but these lips here do not come in contact with the keepers. I'm not worried about that because I know it's not going to happen, but if they push against the keepers, they could push down and loosen the keepers up, and then your whole valve train could fly apart, which would be bad. But I'm not worried about that. For now, I'm going to get this cranked around to the position I need. I'm just going to follow the instructions that came with the Scorpion rocker arms to adjust these. And then I'll take one off and I'll try and get a close-up and demonstrate what I'm talking about. Okay, I got one of the rocker arms off. And you can see the ball style. And it's this ball, the shiny spot right here. It basically rides on the inside of there. And all the valve spring pressure puts pressure on here, and that's what causes all the extra friction and stud mounted rocker arms. There's nothing wrong with that. They've run millions of miles like that with no problems. If you start getting to real high RPMs, of course, then you're going to run into real problems. Tune port, I'm not going to be running high RPMs, but it does free up a lot of friction by getting rid of these and going to the bearing style here that just pivots so much easier, and that helps reduce a lot of the load. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get them on. I already checked this clearance here. As you can see here, this uses basically the same thing to center it over the tip of the valve stem. And instead of using these little rings on the end, they use these little tips here. These are comp cam rocker arms, or just roller tipped. And some people claim these roller tips don't actually roll, but they just end up gliding across. But if you look at these have wear, or even wear going all the way across, so this sucker must be rolling. So that's my opinion anyway. I'll get on to installing these. And one thing you might want to do, I'm not going to go into that, is checking your push rod length and all that stuff to get your valve perfectly centered over it. I could go ahead and do that. I'm not worried. It should be. These are 1.5 and these are 1.5, so it shouldn't really change the geometry from the last time I did that. And I can go into more reasons, especially with a hydraulic roller cam and all this, how precise you want to be. Real high performance all out race engine you want to get custom ordered. You're going to want to get them as centered as possible, and you'll probably end up having to order custom length push rods in order to get them properly centered. So I'm not going to go into real detail on that. I'm just going to do the swap and then get onto the injectors, and of course get the other side and then get the injectors and get that all out of the way. Okay, I got this side done, and I need to put the valve cover back on. Before I do that, in order to get proper clearance, I have to get rid of these drip tabs in here. Now, I can either break them off with a lot of people do, they just break them off with a pair of pliers. And the reason you need them off is because these thicker rocker arms, when they're inside, they're going to be in like this. They're going to hit against those drip tabs. So those need to come out. And I need to get them out of there. It's a couple of different ways. Like I said, you could break them off with a pair of pliers. Another way is go in there with like a Dremel motor tool and a cut-off tool and cut them off that way. I mean, if I really wanted to get fancy, I could stick them in my milling machine and just mill them off. And like I said, you just try not to damage your valve covers. That's all I got to say. Okay, I'm going to end the video right here. I lost a bunch of footage, so I apologize about that. But I'm going to end it here, and I'll go over more detail of why I changed out the injectors and anything else I can think of in the next video. So I'll cover that in the next video. For now, I want everybody to have a great day. Hopefully it's not damp and cool like it is here right now in PA. And like I said, have a great day and God bless.